Hello there. My name is Simon. This is the first YouTube video I've ever done, so I'm going to keep it short, just to see if any of you like it and want me to talk some more. Feel free to say so, or feel free to tell me to shut up, whichever way you fancy. Just to begin with, I'm going to talk about my love of Hammer films. I'm a huge fan of horror films, but particularly the old Gothic horrors that Hammer did. Films like The Curse of Frankenstein and Dracula, the films that made Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee into international stars. First time I ever watched a Hammer film, it was in the old days in the 90s when they used to do a thing called late night Friday horrors, and frequently they'd be double bills, and I think these even go back into the 70s. I'm pretty sure there's a Radio Times cover somewhere that featured Peter Cushing in The Ghoul, not a Hammer film, but as near as Damn It, and Night of the Demon, I think. But I digress. Sorry, I do that a lot, by the way, so do persevere. This particular late night, I think it was 1991, and the BBC was showing Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, and I thought, intriguing title, knowing the old story, gave it a watch. Just absolutely fell in love with how horrific but also quite witty it was as well. What I might do, if I get any sort of favourable comments to say carry on, I'll talk about my individual favourite Hammer films, but just to be going on with, for any Hammer film fans out there, I'll just show some of my collection, because it's always nice to express your love of something that fellow fans will appreciate. So I hope you'll like what I'm going to show you. First of all, which is a recent acquisition, is this. This is that, well, you can see what the title is. This was published in 1973 by Lorimer, and it was, I believe, the very first book ever written about Hammer films, specifically, that wasn't well, it wasn't Dennis Gifford basically saying how much he hated them. If anyone's got that book, they'll probably know what I'm talking about. And as you can see, the cover is based on the poster art for Twins of Evil. So if I flip it around, there's another twin. Not quite sure which is the evil one, but they're both looking quite, well, provocative, shall we say. So that's a lovely thing that, that I own, which I found on Amazon, and not too expensive either. So anyone who fancies looking it up, hopefully you should find it for yourselves. The other thing which is quite fun to have is a post-production script on To the Devil a Daughter. For those who aren't aware, To the Devil a Daughter was Hammer's last horror, as in the old accepted companies we know it, before their comeback with Beyond the Rave and The Woman in Black and so forth. And it starred Christopher Lee, vaguely suggested by the novel by Dennis Wheatley, although you'd be hard-pressed to find any original bits from that book. Bit of an underrated film, though, in my opinion. It's full of flaws, but that's got a lot of things going for it. So that's nice. Another thing I found, actually, my dad bought me this recently from a second-hand store, which is quite cool. Copy of Time Out, and this is from 1987, when Hammer made a documentary, which I believe is available on YouTube, called, well, as you can see, The Studio That Dripped Blood. It's nice to see some of the original people who made Hammer featured in it, like Anthony Hines, also known as John Elder, and various directors, writers, stars, etc. Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, naturally. It's a very nice documentary, so that's a very nice thing to have. Two books which, to any Hammer film fan, or anyone who's interested in finding out more about Hammer and Gothic horrors in general, a lovely book here. I assume we can advertise on YouTube, I don't know, but well, I'm going to do it anyway. This is English Gothic by Jonathan Rigby. An absolutely a wonderful person. He does lots of Hammer documentaries, commentaries, and he's been in all sorts of done a bit of acting as well, I believe. I think he played Kenneth Horne in Round the Horn for one thing, but writes the most wonderful talks about Hammer and various other horrors like Blood on Satan's Claw and Witchfinder General, etc. Heartily recommend this. Another one, which is also very nice to have. Now I've got to be careful because it's a slightly rude, so I don't want to reveal too much. But this is, you can obviously tell I'm covering up. But if I just move my hand so you can see the author's name, let's see if I can do that. Oh dear, there we go. Well, that's that done then. Yes, Wayne Kinsey, another good writer of Hammer. This is all about when Hammer moved out of Bray Studios in 1967 and moved to, well, as you can see, Elstree. Absolutely wonderful. Again, full of details and well worth a read. And right, before I go, so I don't want to bore you too much, and feel free to give me any criticisms you like. As I've never done this before, so who knows. This is a copy of the Radio Times from 1994. This came out when there was a documentary on the BBC called Flesh and Blood, The Hammer Heritage of Horror, and this was publicised to, to publicise it actually, yes. And it's quite nice because if I can find it, it features an interview with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and as it turned out, it was the last thing that Peter Cushing did, bless him. There we go. What a wonderful photo that is. Anyway, so that's me for now. As I say, I love Hammer films, so if anyone wants to leave any comments and suggest anything that they might want me to talk about, I'm happy to individually review any Hammer film we can think of. My collection's pretty extensive, anything from Dick Barton all the way up to, well, the quiet ones. But anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and maybe I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.